We're talking to Donald Woods, alcohol, organized crime, drug dealer. Life is not going very good for this man. You had a relationship with Jesus, you fell away. And now you're kind of hitting the bottom, but you're cycling from Ottawa to Toronto. What happened then, Donald?
So I get to Toronto, and what I realize, it's a location change. Different city, but the same person fighting the same addictions. And so I end up getting a job in Toronto as a general manager of a big bar. And as I started working through that job, the first 3 or 4 weeks, I started thinking, here I am in another city, the same person, and here's the drugs again, the alcohol again, all the addictions coming back. And so one night I was just feeling really down, and my brother lived in Toronto in a room at Parliament in Wellesley. Went over to visit him, and I went in, and I was sitting in his room, and he was sitting about where you are. And I said, John, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And he says, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And as he's flipping through the TV with the remote, this preacher comes on TV and says, are you sick and tired of being sick and tired?
Caught your attention?
Yeah, so we start speaking to the TV. We're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And so he says, pray this prayer. So we closed our eyes, and we knew how to pray, and so we started praying a salvation prayer. When we opened our eyes, it was like someone put a smoke machine in the room, and the room started filling up with smoke, billowing across the top of the room and down the walls.
Were you both seeing this?
We were both seeing this.
Okay.
And we didn't know what was going on, but it was glistening and filling the room up. When it got on us, it felt like electricity going through our bodies. And the first thing that happened, we started to sob, cry and cry profusely.
Why? Did you feel like, was it conviction or overwhelmed by God's love?
Just overwhelmed by this presence that came on us that we weren't sure what it was back then.
Okay.
And the first thing that happened was this repentant feeling came on me of sin and shame. And we both started crying. So we've never cried in front of each other. So he threw me a towel, he took one. We buried our faces in these towels and started crying. When we took the towels away, we could hardly see each other. It was like we were in a steam bath. It was glistening. The whole room was full of the glory of God. That I didn't know that.
You didn't know it at the time, but later on.
Looking back, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And so what happened was then we started laughing, and hilariously, we couldn't stop laughing. But then it got so intense, these waves of electricity going through us, that I looked at him and said, we better get out of here. This thing's going to kill us. And so we ran out of the room at midnight on August 27th, 95, and we wandered the streets of Toronto through Allen Gardens in that downtown area for about 5 hours. At 5 in the morning, we both felt something lift off us like a blanket. And when it lifted off us, every addiction lifted off with it. We were completely 100% set free, and the next day we bought Bibles.
And it was at what point then did you say, okay, Jesus, we've had this experience. Now I want to follow you. No more, side roads. I want to commit myself to you. Was that in that time period?
So what the situation was is that I always wanted to follow Jesus, but the addictions were stronger than my desire to follow Jesus. Right. I couldn't get free from the addictions, so it kept bringing me back in. This is the first time in my life that I was set free, and I knew I was free from every addiction, and I was free to serve God the way I always wanted to.
So since that point to now, all these years later, any fallbacks into the drugs, alcohol?
No, and I've been an ordained minister now for 17 years. I've pastored in 3 different ministries, and my wife and I now have our own ministry called the R Factor Ministries.
And your wife was healed of cancer as well.
Yeah, we battled just recently 2 years where they gave her 2 years to live. And she had to go through the chemo and radiation and everything, surgery, and she's 100% cancer-free today.
Wow, talking to her before we came on the program, she said she's never felt better. What is your sense in terms of what you feel now for both of you, in terms of the ministry? What is it your heart really for this nation and for people?
So right now, what we're doing, we have a ministry, and we have what we call micro churches. And so what they are is church gatherings. So it's not so much the building, the bricks and mortars, it is the flesh, blood, and bones, where the church is the people. And so we're getting these small gatherings together. We have one in Paris, Ontario, one in Toronto, one in Kingston. 30 to 50 people gather every week and just gathering the Christians together. And our job and our goal is that our vision is that they fulfill their vision. So we're trying to help people fulfill their vision.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Donald. What a powerful story. Sounds like a movie, brother. Thank you for coming on. And you know, it's interesting because you really are a legacy of this ministry, being on so long ago and being impacted by people like David Maines and Father Bob McDougall. You know, and if you're battling drugs, alcohol, any kind of addiction, you know, we've got people always standing by, willing to talk to you on the prayer lines, and I would encourage you to do that. Donald's story is not unique. The Lord is working right across the nation, and again, we want to see people set free and come to know Jesus as their Lord. Hey, we'll take a break, and we'll be back with more of 100 Huntley Street right after this.